Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to another Battalion Wars video. Only this time we're doing the first Battalion Wars instead of the second. I still intend to record more of the second, but I kind of want to wait until I can get more online stuff working in that game, unless people actually are requesting just doing single player missions like I did with the last mission that I recorded of it. But anyway, for this video we're going to be showing off playing some missions as Xylvania and showing off some of the units that you wouldn't normally get to use as well. I thought it would be pretty interesting. Also, somebody requested that I do Beachhead, so I picked that as one of the missions. Though it's a pretty quick victory because right at the beginning we'll have acid gas veterans and just be able to burn through them without too much difficulty. I would skip this cutscene, but when I edited the XML, I wasn't able to skip the cutscene anymore for some reason, and I think that's because if you change the unit you start as to a unit that's already further along in the mission, then it somehow messes up the cutscene. I don't know why, but I noticed that with a couple of missions where my starting position is a lot further along than it normally would be. And that transport in the background didn't really know what it was doing. I don't know why it was just like bumping into the other one. And of course we're not starting in the heavy recon. Instead we're starting in this light tank. And those bazooka veterans are going to go after it, because that's what they would normally do anyway. But at first I'm just going to retreat back to the beach and wait for reinforcements to arrive. I should also mention I'm doing post-commentary on this because post-commentary is just easier to do for these kind of videos. Modding videos, that is. Since it's mostly just me explaining things. Ooble. And yeah, I had my grunts take out those bazooka veterans so they would stop harassing me.
You want ugly, scrawny little man? Ubel stormtroopers will show you ugly.
So yeah, in a second we'll get acid gas veterans, which I'm going to use. Also, you can see those meta packs there. It's kind of interesting that normally when you play as the Western Frontier, Xylvanian units drop meta packs, but when you're playing as Xylvania, then the Western Frontier troops drop them. And I didn't even have to edit anything, it just did that on its own. So I'm guessing it's set to have the enemy army always drop meta packs and not have a specific army drop them. And so yeah, this is the acid gas veteran. Of course, despite the name, they play just like flame veterans. They burn through infantry and do pretty much no damage to vehicles. So then I go burn these rifle grunts. And here it's pretty easy because the Western Frontier basically just has rifle grunts and some assault veterans in their base that I get rid of later. They also have those artillery, but since the artillery wasn't smart enough to just go out and position itself in a good spot, like up on those hills, it couldn't really do much. And by the time I got in here, my light tank just pretty much destroyed them. And then I captured the fort. I was actually going to prolong this mission, but the problem is in order to make the mission go on longer, you have to destroy all the Xylvanian units normally. And since if you have no units under your command, then you fail. So if I tried to lose all my units on purpose, it would result in the mission ending, so I wasn't able to go any farther than that, unfortunately. But that's okay, because plenty of other missions have, like, bombers and rocket troops, which is really all that that mission would have had later on. Of course, it would be fun to edit the XML more and see if I can get the mission to go on for the full thing, just for the sake of having the mission go longer, I guess, but that would probably be a lot more work too, so I didn't bother. I'd probably put more work into Battalion Wars 2 missions, though, because if I get the online working, it'll be worth it to edit the missions and balance them out and stuff. So this was the next mission I picked. Probably not the best one, because you can't really win, since eliminating all the Western Frontier units doesn't give you victory. And, of course, the Western Frontier is not going to go capture facilities because there's no commander to tell them to do that, so I basically just picked this one to show off heavy recons and gunships and rocket veterans. And yeah, this is the heavy recon. I will say the Xylvanian heavy recon does feel different than the Western Frontier heavy recon. It's kind of, I mean, it's basically the same, but for some reason the steering on it feels a lot different. Like if I'm just driving straight, it seems harder to turn. And then I ram that ammo dump, which wasn't the best idea, because then I get lit on fire and blow up from those bazooka veterans. So next is the gunship. The gunship in this game, in the second game it works pretty normally. In this game, the first thing you'll notice is the camera angle is off. It's a bit higher up than on the Western Frontier gunship. Not that it really matters that much. The other thing you might notice is the reload time on the Xylvanian gunship is next to none. You can pretty much just keep shooting constantly, which I'm showing right there. But the downside I noticed to the Xylvanian gunship is its accuracy is not as good as the Western Frontier and Tundran gunships. Because with those ones, when you shoot at a target, your shots go basically directly to where the target is. But with the Xylvanian gunship, the shots seem to hit on the sides of your target. But not that it matters, because if you just keep on shooting, you're going to kill them anyway. And then I decided to go free the other Western Frontier POWs, which are these missile vets. You can't destroy the ammo dumps by shooting at them if you're Xylvania, because even though the ammo dumps are displayed as neutral, they're actually Xylvanian allegiance. So you can destroy them by running into them, but... And then I just get spun around by those missile veterans. I really miss the physics from the first Battalion Wars, because in the second game you really can't do stuff like that. Which maybe the main reason for that was so that in online you can't knock people around a whole bunch, but I'm not really sure. And then here I'm just checking the map. And of course, the nice thing about the first Battalion Wars is you could use the map to transfer to a different unit. In the second game, you can't do that, which is kind of unfortunate.
You have my eternal...
Uber sees the enemy approaching his weapons store. Man the heavy recons! Attack immediately!
And then the last thing I do is go attack these Solar Empire units after freeing them, but I get blown up by the ammo dump because the heavy tank ends up shooting it. They actually do a pretty good job right here of surviving too, but we have way too many light tanks for their heavy tank to survive. Oh yeah, this part's kind of weird. One of my light tanks is attacking me. Not that it actually damages me, but the reason for that, as far as I know, is occasionally in the campaign, enemy units, normally they're enemy units, will be set to attack mode by default. And the way it works is sometimes there's missions where the units are set to attack the commander. So regardless of what unit you're controlling, the units will go after you. Another mission like this is the Road to Xylvania mission, where the Legion gunships go after you, regardless of what unit you're using. And so, in that situation, even if you're on the same team as them, since they're set to attack the commander, they'll still try to attack you. But that's pretty rare.
Good morning, Commander, and welcome to...
And yeah, so for the next mission, I chose this one because there's a lot of air units in it. And I really like this mission. Though for this one I tried to do something more interesting. I decided to make it through the whole mission and try to give Western Frontier the victory.
Transport copters are delivering reinforcements to the island. Shoot them down before they can land.
So for most of the mission you'll see me sabotaging my own units, the ground units anyway, to make sure that the Western Frontier grunts can make it through. And then at the beginning I also crash some of these air transports for good measure. But first I was just waiting to make sure the Western Frontier fighters make it to the island without flying off somewhere else. And yeah, so this is the air transport. It actually functions properly, despite the fact that you never normally fly a transport of any kind in either game. I crashed into this mountain. Yeah, it flies... It's kind of weird. Like, it's pretty hard to stop the air transport. Like with a gunship, it's easy to just stop it in place in midair, but with the air transports, it's like they just want to keep on drifting a little bit, which can get annoying, especially if you're trying to land, because it is possible to land when you're playing as one. You have to be really careful and go down very slowly like that. And if you can do that, you'll land. But if you don't go down gently enough, you'll just end up crashing into the ground and destroying yourself.
Most proficient, Commander. You prevented 3 out of 4 Xylvanian T-copters from reinforcing the garrison.
And yeah, those Frontier fighters are actually doing work right here. They took out that other transport on their own. But I should also mention, this is the first mission where I actually changed the way the AI works, because I wanted to make sure that the Western Frontier air units would be competent and not just fly around doing nothing. So I changed the way their AI is so that they'll actually go after units if they see them, but by default their AI is set to respond to attacks. So what that means is, normally when they're under your command, you'll notice that they'll probably just fly around, and if they get attacked, then they might go after other units. But throughout the game, the enemy AI is usually set to attack on sight, which is why if you're like running around and you see an enemy unit, they'll just come up and attack you even if you don't shoot them first. And so I basically set all the Frontier AI units to that in this mission to make sure that they would actually be smart and go after my units too. This is the bomber. The camera angle is also messed up on this one. That's probably the most common problem in the first Battalion Wars with units, is the camera angle's messed up on them. In the second game, all the units I've tried so far work perfectly. The other strange thing about the Xylvanian bomber is it drops bombs at a much slower rate than the Frontier bomber. You probably noticed already. And then I crash it, because the Xylvanian bombers in this mission are set to attack the Frontier grunts, and they'll continually go into attack mode on those grunts. So if I don't crash them, they'll try to kill them the entire time. But it's okay, because I'll get 2 more later on. And then the Frontier sends in their bombers, of course.
Good job, Commander. I'm deploying some Frontier bombers to provide additional support.
Fire! Unleash an artillery barrage that will drive the enemy back into the sea.
So next we'll take a look at the artillery.
Those bombers arrived just in time. Use them to take out that Xylvanian artillery.
I was kind of waiting for a moment though to see what those bombers would do. So again, like the bomber and gunship, the camera angle's really messed up on the artillery. Only this time it's kind of like below it, like it tries to be underneath the artillery sort of, which results in you having like a perfect viewpoint of anything above you, but since it's an artillery unit, it's not very useful. because it makes it really hard to hit units on the ground. Then I pull out my grunts from those MG nests to make things easier.
We got Xylvania tanks up ahead. Where's that air support, Eagle 1?
You heard the man, Commander. Neutralize those tanks from above.
And yeah, I just tried harassing those bombers to see if they would go after me. And they did, of course.